Hello, and today we're going to learn about two different vocabulary terms. The first is the addition property of equality. Mathematically, this means that if I have an equation where I have two things equal to each other, two terms, then if you add the same constant to both sides of the equation, it's still an equation. So you still have the left side equaling the right side, so it doesn't break the rules of an equation. Okay, so that's the addition property of equality. We're going to be using that a lot today. The second thing I want to bring up is the idea of an additive inverse. Additive inverses are two numbers that when you add them together they equal 0. So can you think of two numbers that if you add them together would equal 0? How about 5 plus negative 5? That would equal 0. So 5 and negative 5 are additive inverses of each other. How about negative 2 and positive 2? Those are additive inverses of each other. In fact, generally, any number added to the opposite of the same number would equal 0. So that's how you end up getting additive inverses. Okay, we're going to use both the addition property of equality and the idea of additive inverses to solve equations. So let's take a look at our first example. X plus 5 is equal to 9. To solve this, we need to get x equals. So our goal is to get x equals something. In order to do that, we need to isolate the x. Currently, there's a 5 being added to it. So we can use the idea of the additive inverse and add whatever we could add to 5 that would make it become 0. So what's the additive inverse of 5? We did this before. It would be negative 5. So we're going to add a negative 5. So when we combine the 5 and the negative 5, we end up just getting 0, or x plus 0, which is just x. Now, we changed the left side of the equation. We added a number to it. We can balance off the equation by adding the negative 5 to this side as well. And again, this is the addition property of equality, basically stating if this is equal to this, then if I add the same term to both sides, in this case it's a negative 5, it's still an equation. And it is. So in this case, again, the x plus 5 plus negative 5, the 5 and the negative 5 become 0, and x plus 0 is just x, so this all becomes x. And 9 plus negative 5 is 4. So x equals 4 is the solution to the equation. Okay, yeah, not so bad. Let's take a look at two more. All right, so in this case, again, our goal is to get x equals something. Well, currently we have a negative 2 over here. In fact, why don't we change this to that, just so we can see it a little bit more clearly. X minus 2 is the same as x plus negative 2. You know, the keep change rule, or whatever shortcut you might have heard before. Subtracting 2 and adding negative 2 are the same thing. So really we have x plus negative 2. Well, what's the additive inverse of negative 2? What can we add to negative 2 to get 0? And that would be a positive 2. Now we have x plus 0, which is just x. Now be careful, we actually changed the left side of the equation. We added 2 to it. So in order to balance off the equation using the addition property of equality, we have to add that same 2 to the right side of the equation. 7 plus 2 is 9, so x is equal to 9. And that's how we solve. One more example, and then I think we're all set with this. Let's take a look at x plus 10 is equal to negative 3. Okay, so again, our goal, we want to get x equals something. We have an x plus 10, and we need to add something to the 10 to make it become 0. What's the additive inverse of 10? This is one we haven't done yet, but just think, what adding to 10 would equal 0? Okay? Now again, we change the left side of the equation by adding a negative 10 to it. We have to balance that off using the addition property of equality by adding that negative 10 to this side as well. Okay, so x and then the plus 10 and the plus negative 10, that would become just x plus 0, which, boom, gives you x. Negative 3 plus negative 10 would be negative 13, and there's your solution. Okay, so that's how to solve equations using the addition property of equality and the use of additive inverses to isolate your variable.